Hello, True Techno Gamer here. Welcome back to the channel. And here I am now, sitting here end of January 2021, and I've had a PS5 in my house for about 2 months, a little over 2 months now. So I have to at least talk about that, right? Just kind of give you guys my impressions and the feeling and the rundown. There's a lot of, oh man, there's a ton of stuff that has happened along the way, but this is kind of like, the big story for me, right? In terms of gaming. So PS5, 2 months in, impressions after the break. All right, so PS5, 2 months in, let's get into it. Thinking about it in the context of the PS4 as the baseline, I mean, yeah, every aspect of the system is improved. And the net sum of everything is just that it's just a delight. Like, I literally enjoy just sitting down, picking up my controller, ready to play anything, any game on there. I just love the experience. I love the speed. I love the feel of the controller. And the UI, it's obviously early days, but it's still really functional. And I haven't had, any issues. Sure, there were some crashes. Definitely, like in the first few weeks, games would just crash kind of randomly. Call of Duty and Assassin's Creed were some of the big ones. But overall, I mean, especially like in the last month, I mean, I don't think I've had a single crash. So things are working, well. Obviously, they did a few system updates since then, and things are going well. I got lucky. I got wind at Costco, which Costco didn't advertise or mention anything about PS5 leading up to launch. But on the day of, they actually put some units up for sale. And I was just really lucky to catch it at the right time. I got in, got the order, and I ordered it on the launch day, but didn't ship for another 2 weeks. So I got mine right before Thanksgiving, I think it was. And yeah, been having it for 2 months. So I got the system, I got the disc version, not the all digital version. I like the disc version. I have some PS4 games that are on disc for backwards compatibility's sake. I also like the idea of actually physically owning certain games that I know that I'll always have. Digital games, they can go away at some point. It's not forever yours kind of thing. So I just like the idea of this. I'm just kind of like a purist like that. But if I want to go digital for certain games, which I do. So I got the disc version, and I got a number of games at launch. So it comes with Astro's Playroom. I got Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I got Call of Duty Cold War, and I got Spider-Man Miles Morales. I got Demon Souls. I got NBA 2K21. Destiny 2 had a next-gen upgrade, which was amazing, by the way. And then, yeah, I wanted to try Days Gone, which did get like a PS5 kind of like 60 hertz update, as well as Ghost of Tsushima, which I had not played. I was waiting to get it on the PS5, and that also has a 60 hertz update. So I actually still haven't played Ghost of Tsushima, but I do have it. So let me talk about the look of the system quick. People talked about how big it is and whether you like or don't like the look. I personally love the look. I think it's not in my room. I have it in my my theater room, in my basement. It's a big room with a big TV on a big stand. Like it's not like obnoxiously big by any means. It is big. It's clearly much bigger than the PS4, much bigger than the Xbox One. But I think it's pretty sleek, and my wife thinks it's the best looking PlayStation console ever. She loves white, but she just thinks it also makes a nice statement. Right now, I have it vertically. I'm gonna probably put it horizontal shortly, but vertically, yeah, I think it looks nice. It looks nice. It draws enough attention to say like, "Hey, I'm here and I am something." But again, it's not obnoxious in its size or in its style. So I like it. It's functional. The sound. It obviously sounds quieter than the PS4 Pro. I mean, how could it not? But I definitely hear it. Every now and then the fans will spin up, especially when there's a disc in there. I hear the disc churning. But for the most part, when you're playing, it's not something that you're going to hear from your listening area. But it's not like super quiet. It's not like it's completely quiet, like they say about the Xbox. I think the Xbox is quieter for the Xbox Series X. The biggest differences that the PS5 brings over PS4 and over PC as well, in my opinion, is there's two things. It's not just about the graphics and the tech specs. It's the overall speed of it, by and large, due to that SSD and the controller, of course, like the DualSense controller. The other big thing, for sure, the technical aspect is the fact that nearly every PS5 game released so far, except for one, to my knowledge, which is Watch Dogs Legion, every single PS5 game has at least the option for a 60 hertz mode. And I mean, so we're talking like almost a pretty much standard 60. And in some cases, this is unprecedented, right? There are games that we've never seen run at 60 on console, like Assassin's Creed. The fact that Assassin's Creed Valhalla is running at 60 is just historic. People don't realize there's been over 20 Assassin's Creed games released on PS3, Xbox 360, PS4, and including the remasters on PS4. None of them ran at 60. And now we have at launch a full-fledged, state-of-the-art Assassin's Creed game running at 60 hertz and a smooth 60 hertz, like a near locked 60 hertz. And it really makes a difference. So playing Spider-Man at 60, playing Demon's Souls at 60 hertz, playing even things like Call of Duty at 120 hertz. You know what I mean? Man, like it makes Destiny 2, again, at 60 hertz, that update makes a huge difference in a game like that. And the fact that it's just so standard. Every time I pick up the PS5, again, the speed of the system and just the UI and get into the games, and then in the games, the loading speed, etc., is just something that you just get spoiled by. You can't go back. And the fact that everything is so smooth with the 60 hertz update makes a difference. And I'll talk more about that from me as well. And then, like I said, the DualSense, for not every game takes a great advantage of it, but the controller, even for games that don't take advantage of like the advanced features, it just feels better. It feels way better to hold in the hand to me than the DualShock 4 PS4 controller, and obviously every PlayStation controller before that. It just has so many great features, man, like microphone and speaker and the lighting and the touchpad and the haptics and the adaptive triggers and the motion. I mean, there's so much there, so many tools there for developers to play with. And then, of course, we see all of that come together in such a wonderful way with Astro's Playroom. But those are the three pillars: the speed with the SSD, 60 hertz update in terms of technical aspects, and then the controller. Those three things alone, generally speaking, you will feel the difference for almost everything, pretty much everything you will put into the PS4, 5, including a lot of PS4 games. The UI, obviously early days, but I love it. I mean, it's functional. Once you kind of get it, it's just fast and smooth. I love the fact that the store is built into the UI natively. That helps a lot. And it's fairly easy to get around. There's some, they'll fix a lot of things, adding folders, to sort and organize your content. I like that the fact that the game and media sections are separate. That helps. The graphics and overall rendering of the UI is great. It's 4K with HDR, and everything in it looks great, looks sharp, and it's pretty much just instant. I mean, you're in the store, you highlight a game, and you'll see the trailer play, or whatever. I mean, it's pretty cool in that regard. So again, it feels better, and I've gone back to the PS4, but it feels better than the PS4 UI for sure. I don't use the activities and like those kind of features that Sony highlighted. I have used like for Astro, I did use like the hints and the video hints feature a little bit, and I did use activities to kind of navigate through the game. But by and large, a lot of games don't support it. A and B, I haven't really just like, let me just go to the activity card and try to do something. It's not something I think that honestly is designed and tailored for the kind of gamer I am, a hardcore gamer. But it's there. Again, we'll see what they do with it. It doesn't hurt. It's not like in the way. It doesn't negatively affect anything. But I'm just saying I'm not really using a lot of that stuff quite yet. And so, yeah, finding your friends and all those kind of features are a little bit more hidden than they probably should be. But it's there. The boot speed, like especially with the real true PS5 games, the games that are tailored for PS5, not the backwards compatible games, not the cross-gen titles as much, but games like Spider-Man and Demon's Souls and Astro, for example. I mean, from the time you literally turn on the system to boot to when you are controlling Spider-Man, it's like between 20 and 30 seconds. I mean, it literally like boots up in less than 10 seconds for sure. And it's just there, ready to go. And then, you have to drop out of a game Um, some like even before when I was talking about the game crashing, it wasn't a big deal. You go right back into the game, and you're back into it almost immediately. So that definitely feels great. And again, I think when we start seeing a lot more games actually optimized for PS5, yeah, it fundamentally changes. Like a game like Demon Souls, I didn't even play Demon Souls on PS3 really, but I can't imagine a game where you're gonna die like that much, where you have different sections of the environment to traverse when you go through the fog. When you die in Demon Souls, you're right back in the Nexus in like 2 or 3 seconds, immediately. When you go through the fog in the environment, it literally takes 2 seconds. You go through the fog, it plays the animation, and you're there. You're done. That changes the experience at that level. It's not just about loading speed, just for the sake of when you're on the splash screen rating, but there are things along the gameplay where the pace doesn't have to stop. You know, these things, these beats, and these times where you would just be idle and just frustrated because you're gonna die a ton in Demon Souls, and to have to wait even 30 seconds, even 20 seconds, in between each load adds up, and it would just make the game a lot more frustrating. Now it's just not a big deal. It's like, okay, I died. I'm right back. I really didn't stop to play. I couldn't barely blink, and it's right there. It's awesome. It's awesome. So that's cool. The graphics. Okay, let me talk about the graphics and the audio as well. The graphics are exactly what I expected. They're great. They are a huge jump in general from the PS4. If not for nothing else, like I said, the fact that almost every game is running at 60 frames per second is amazing. The fact that at launch we also have a number of examples of ray tracing. The biggest one being in Spider-Man, which looks great. It looks amazing, and especially like the indoor scenes. It really changes the look of a lot of sections of that game. It really does, and it runs so smoothly. It doesn't hiccup at all. Insomniac are great, but it just shows like what's possible with the PS5. We've heard the stories about how the PS5 is outperforming the Xbox Series right now, even though on paper the Series X has more, higher specs. And I've been saying that forever, that you can't just go by those specs. And the PS5 is just a little bit. It has a lot more custom hardware in it. It's a lot smarter in its design. But Xbox, in typical Microsoft fashion, is a little bit more brute force. PS5 is definitely not brute force, but it has some customizations and optimizations that just make everything that's there just run a lot more efficiently. So you look at the visuals, bro. Like, I'm gonna tell you like this: the first of all, the graphics and the gameplay for Spider-Man Miles Morales and Demon Souls alone, if PS5 launched with just those two games, it would be worth it. Those two games are awesome. They're already great games. Some of the best the games that you can get. But the technical advancements on the PS5 make all the difference and really just enhance those games and are just great showpieces. Spider-Man looks amazing, especially at certain moments. It looks CG. The lighting, the materials. And I played all of Spider-Man on PS4. I did. I played through the entire game on PS4 at 30 hertz, no problem. And I initially, started playing Spider-Man Miles Morales with the fidelity mode. All right, because guys, let's back up. I'm someone that this is not normal for me to be really talking about frame rates and 60 hertz this hard like this, right? Normally, I would prefer the fidelity mode in the past, right? I would go for the 4K max graphics that I can get, because 30 hertz never bothered me that much. I've played hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of Destiny at 30 hertz. I played through 40 hours of Spider-Man at 30 hertz. In the PS4 days, most of your games was at 30 hertz. I mean, that was fine. But what's weird now, though, is when you have the option in the same game. So in Spider-Man, you can go from 30 hertz to 60 hertz, right? Fidelity mode versus performance mode. Assassin's Creed, they added a fidelity mode after launch, and you can switch between the two. Initially, I was going for the fidelity mode. I'm like, I want to see the full 4K. I want to see the cleanest image quality I can get. I want to see all the effects, etc. And what happened is, somewhere along the way, I decided to just try the performance mode. And initially, when I first went to the performance mode, I didn't even see or notice that big of a difference, as crazy as that sounds. Like, yeah, it's smoother, but no big deal. 30 was still okay. And then you go back to 30 after your eyes and your brain adjust to 60. Oh my God. I mean, I've tried it like 2 or 3 times now to go back to 30 hertz on Spider-Man fidelity mode, it literally looks broken. The game looks broken. Just simply moving the camera around, and literally it's just not smooth at all. It's so jumpy. It just looks artificial. It's hard to explain, but God, it's the worst. I can't imagine playing that game at 30 hertz anymore, at 30 frames per second. And it's crazy for me to say that. But it spoils you. And I get what people have said it before, that it's a lot more noticeable on the PC as well. Now, once you get used to it, I played Destiny, and again, Destiny 2 at 60 hertz. When I first, I've been playing so much of Destiny over the years. When I first saw that game running at 60 hertz, and by the way, before you guys say, I have seen, part of my job, I have seen Destiny running at 60 hertz on PC. I've played Destiny on PC as well. I know PC had it. We get it. But to see it I played mostly on console, to see it on my TV, even the menu felt so much smoother. It was transformative. I mean, that game is a different game at 60 hertz. And yeah, it just makes everything so delightful to play. And 60 hertz actually makes the graphics, the overall image, look so much better, because your temporal, stability is so much better, right? Meaning the motion, the frames, having that extra frame data makes movement and motion look so much more stable. Even when you're not moving, it's just everything looks clearer because it's refreshing faster. And it's hard. That's the thing that really got me. Spider-Man with performance looks better than fidelity to me. And part of that is because the sacrifices that they had to make to go to performance aren't significant. So it's not like it's a big difference. And at least on the PS5 so far, games like Assassin's Creed and Spider-Man, I mean, they can talk on paper. Obviously, they had to make some sacrifices, but it's not noticeable when you're playing. It really isn't. It's not like it's in fidelity mode. You just look at it and you're like, man, the texture is so much sharper. And everything, I could see things that I just couldn't see before. And the 4K, look, it's really not that much of a difference, not noticeable difference from a graphic standpoint. But then you get all of the advantages, the input latency, the game feels better, feels smoother to play. And the motion is so much better. Just moving the camera, it's weird, but I'm like, man, I cannot go back. I cannot go back. So I hope they keep it up. Obviously, not every game is going to be 60. And again, if a game is 30 and there's no 60 option, so you don't have that in your brain to kind of see the difference, your brain will get used to 30, and you'll be fine. I've been playing 60 hertz games before, and playing 30 hertz games before with it, and it wasn't like, oh my god, I couldn't play the 30 hertz games at all. I think the difference now is to see it in the same game and be able to toggle and go from one to the other in the same game, and you're like, wow, that's just a big difference. So Spider-Man being cross-gen, it really just blows the PS4 version out the water in every way, just the 60 hertz and ray tracing alone. But again, they updated the materials. They updated everything. Everything in that game looks better than it did on the PS4. Everything. Textures are higher resolution. Shading and lighting is better. And it overall just looks much better. But at the same time, it's nowhere near what Spider-Man 2 is going to look like. Demon's Souls is the real true PS5 exclusive, and everything about that game looks amazing. Even my wife just glanced at it and was like, she saw me looking at a list of the best looking games of 2020, and Demon's Souls was on the list, but it was number 3 or 4 or something like that. And she just looked and glanced, like, that's that Demon's Souls game, right? I'm like, yeah. She's like, okay, there's no way that there's any game that looks better than that. That looks crazy. And she was just talking about the sharpness, the textures, the lighting. It was lightning flashing. It was fire embers. She was like, that just looks so real. There's no way. The Last of Us 2 does not look better than that. And that's just her glancing at it. So Demon's Souls is the real deal, but the game is just great. I've never really played it. Never really played any of the Soul games like that. And I'm like, this would be a great opportunity for me to just really dig in to the original, the OG. And I'm enjoying it. It's tough and it's a lot, but I'm enjoying it, And again, the speed, SSD, the 60 hertz, the feel, the animation, along with the graphics, it's ridiculous. But everything that I have played on the PS5 looks amazing. The graphics, to me, delivers in spades. It really, truly is giving you a high-end PC experience, meaning a RTX 2080 level experience at the baseline. It's running games with the level of fidelity that you would see at a graphics card like that. And there's advantages that the console, the PS5 in particular, have over even the PC, like that SSD, the overall speed of the system. A PC can't match that, even with the NVMe SSD. You're not going to get the boot time through Windows is never going to match the boot time on the PS5 to get to your OS. You still got to go through Steam and go through all of this stuff, and you don't have to worry about that in the PS5. Sound. Let me touch on sound real quick. This is like crazy to me, man. I have a nice home theater setup. I've been playing PS4 obviously for 7 years now, right? I'm used to what that sounds like on that setup. And the first time I put my PS5 on, the first game I played was Astro's Playroom, not like a crazy action game or anything. But I was amazed. I was blown away by the sound. It sounded so much better than the PS4 to me on my system. And Astro is one of the games, the first party game. It uses Tempest. It has a Tempest 3D output, which apparently you could only get if you have headphones on. But the overall sound engine in the PS5 is so much more powerful than the PS4 that everything that gets pumped out from that system in the PS5 will be enhanced. It will sound better. It should sound better. Even PS4 backwards compatible games are going to sound a little bit better. It's like just having a more powerful sound card, right? At the very least, same information, but it just can process it better and output it with a higher fidelity. And that's what it sounds like. It sounds like a curtain had been lifted off of every game I played. And NBA 2K, the crowd and the announcer, everything just sounded clearer, higher fidelity, higher resolution. It's hard to explain. I mean, the sound separation as well. Like in Astro, it was crazy. You could hear, pinpoint things on different parts of my system. When things are to the right, to the left, even slightly above, and things go in it was just really sharp and just super, super clear. And that's cool. I'm an audiophile, right? And that's one of the biggest disappointments about the PS4 was the sound. In many ways, guys, the PS4 sound was not as good as the PS3's. It took a step back, right? It didn't innovate in any way. It still maxed out at 7.1 surround, which the PS3 was offering from 2006. But the PS3 had much better sound processing, actually, with the cell processor in there than what the PS4 can do. And I noticed that. Like, there are games, even just listening to Spotify on PS4 was a letdown. I noticed that. I was like, man, it doesn't sound as good as it did on the PS3. And so the PS5 obviously is taking that and elevating above the PS3 level. And I'm really, really looking forward to the day when we get Tempest 3D on not just headphones, but actually on your TV and on an actual Atmos surround setup like I have. Take note, guys, the sound is one of the big three pillars, right, that Sony is marketing about the PS5 difference. They're not talking about the graphics that much, and there's a reason for that. They're highlighting three pillars: the SSD, the controller, and the audio engine, right? Their Tempest audio engine. And they're doing that because those three things, in the way that they're pushing them, really truly have the potential to really elevate the gameplay experience above and beyond not just the PS4, but also the Xbox and the PC. Okay, PC has 3D audio, we get it. Xbox has Atmos support and Windows Sonic as well, and DTX, right? We get it. But Sony's just trying to push those things with their proprietary format, because 3D audio, if done correctly, could really, really enhance the game. And even though 3D audio has been out there, it hasn't really been pushed and really been done in an optimal way. Definitely not on PC. Xbox, has it, but they haven't really pushed it out there. It's like, yeah, we have Atmos. There's a handful of games that's been released on Atmos, and they all sound great. But it hasn't been something that they really pushed and highlighted. Sony doing that is a great thing, ultimately. But those that have the potential, when you hear like a real solid 3D audio mix for a game, it's way beyond what you would have expected from surround sound. But the SSD is a game changer. And the way that it's implemented PS5 is not something that can be replicated completely by Xbox or PC. And then the controller. That DualSense controller right now is unique. I got a feeling we're going to see something else like that on Xbox and or PC down the line. But right now, it is a unique thing. And games are taking advantage of it. Not a whole lot and not all deep right now, but they are. Call of Duty, to me, the best experience I had with the controller, besides the Astro was great, of course. But when I played Call of Duty, that was when it really hit me. Like, whoa, this is something else. Because Call of Duty uses it with the adaptive triggers to actually give you resistance when you're pulling the trigger on the gun. And every type of gun feels different. A light machine gun feels very different than a pistol and very different than a shotgun. And you feel that in the triggers. And when I was doing that and literally having to fight the triggers to squeeze the trigger to shoot, that's when it clicked for me. I was like, okay, this is something else. Like, why would you ever want to play a shooting game in any other way? Like, this is different. We've not felt this. There's no keyboard, mouse, or controller on a PC that really replicates this in this way. And obviously the Xbox controllers, they have rumble triggers that almost are never used. And even then, it's not the same thing. It's not the adaptive trigger that you see on the DualSense. So that's another unique feature. That makes sense. Sony should focus on things that's unique. The graphics are great. 4K 60 hertz is something that is doable for a lot of games. Not all games, but a lot of games. Ray tracing is a great thing once you really start to see it, and once developers start really optimizing around it. That's all great, but honestly, 4K gaming isn't new. PC gaming has been gaming on 4K for almost a decade, and even the Xbox One X, the PS4 Pro, had 4K capability. So that's not entirely new. And, we're getting to diminishing returns when it comes to resolution anyway. And in general, diminishing returns means that the graphics fidelity already look good for most people on the PS4. It looks better on the PS5, but most people aren't going to look at it and be like, whoa, this is a night and day difference. It's going to look better, but it's not going to be the biggest selling point, let's be honest. And Sony knows that. Microsoft doesn't get that memo, apparently. They keep touting 4K, 60, all of these tech specs, most powerful system. PS5 is there, it has tons of power. But Sony knows that's not really going to be the legacy and the real innovation this generation. It's not going to be about the graphics in 4K or whatever. It's going to be about those other things. So I see that. I feel that. Bottom line, PS5 is amazing. I do love it. The launch was not perfect by any means. I do still feel bad for a lot of people who still cannot find a system, can't get a system. Sony's doing the best they can, I'm sure, to try to keep stock, but it's a lot of things at play, and the pandemic is not helping, of course, but it wasn't the best launch in that regard. But every game is pretty solid. There's not like any real true stinkers in the whole launch lineup, which is amazing. And the games that I have, Assassin's Creed is actually great. I love the changes they made. I thought it was going to be more of the same. And it is in the Viking setting, but it's not. It's a great game. It looks amazing. When you see that game, certain times of day, the lighting, the colors, the motion, again, the 60 hertz, it looks amazing. It's a great, great looking game as well. Call of Duty Cold War also was great. Ray tracing, 120 hertz mode. I mean, great. Like I said, Destiny 2 is transformed on the PS5, and I love it. It's also amazing. NBA 2K21, had a true next gen upgrade. It's the real deal. It looks great. The loading time is instant. Everything about it just feels better playing than the PS4. Man, what else? Like I said, Demon's Souls is great, amazing. Spider-Man is truly amazing. Those two games alone, to me, is worth the price of admission for PS5. And man, everything is a delight to play. So 2 huge thumbs up for me. I mean, out of 10, if I had to rate over all my impressions so far, I would probably give it a 9.5. Let's say 9.5. I mean, it's not perfect. And again, it's going to improve a lot. And there's going to be a lot more better games coming out. Games that actually take more advantage of the system. I can't wait. But day one is living up to the specs. We're seeing the performance live up to that. The 60 hertz is smooth as lock. We saw day one on PS4 that day one, there was a lot of games. Like even Killzone and Knack from Sony. They ran with unlocked frame rates that barely can get out the 30s. Right? They were unlocked at launch, but they had performance issues from the jump. We saw games that had to drop resolution, like Battlefield 4 at the time, because it couldn't run at 1080p even, right? Stuff like that. We saw the limitations of the PS4 at the launch. Right now, so far with PS5, it's matching the specs. It's matching what it should be able to do, and it's doing it well. It's doing it really well. So kudos to Sony overall. Thanks for making it this far, supporting the channel. Please like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know that you're there, please. And till next video. Talk to you guys soon. Thanks.